look at this.
When she asked the question if a man would date a single mother, this is the response she has gotten from a lot of men. Of course she didn't like it, but almost everyone in that comment section was in agreement because they see no benefit in dating a single mother.
I really don't think that he's speaking for all men, because I know that there will be somebody that steps up one day to be some sort of father figure for my child.
I can step for step away anytime. Anytime. I'm not taking care of him. Why not? Because he's not my son. I'm not trying to build a bond with another man's son.
All right, so if Jesus had a stepdad and God called us to care for the fatherless, then why there's so many men acting like dating a single mom is spiritual suicide? In this video, Anthony and I are going to be reacting to 2 viral clips that are tearing down single mothers. Some of y'all in the comment section came at this one particular lady super hard, and so I want to come at it from a Christian perspective, so that way you can see that the person and the people in those comments don't speak for all men. But we're also going to dive a little bit deeper into it and just talk about dating and marriage altogether, whether men are wrong for avoiding single moms, what the Bible says about blended families, why God designed marriage the way that he did and why does that matters, how grace and discernment go hand in hand, and why your decisions whether to date or not date should never be condemnation to a person in their past or what other people decide to do. All right, so Anthony, let's go ahead and hop right into this one. I know for me, this one is gonna be a personal video, but what I would like to do, if you don't mind, I'd like to show this first clip. And then, matter of fact, I don't want to show the clip first. I actually want you to kind of share your background and your perspective, right? Because me personally, I'm actually married to a woman who had 2 boys when we met. I also been through a divorce and I brought kids into our marriage. And so I'm going to be coming at it from a perspective of somebody who actually did what they're going against here. What perspective are you coming at this from?
Yeah, for me, like you said, I'm probably different. My children are by the same person. I married married her. And but what I have experienced, if I had to sit across from single parents, single moms, blended families, for almost 20 years now, doing marriage and family counseling, and trying to help them navigate through the ups and downs, the pitfalls, the challenges that it presents, because there are challenges that it presents. I will not say, oh, it's sinful, that it shouldn't be done. But what I will say is that you do have to know what you're getting into, which I know you'll talk about more on that side of, what is it? What are the challenges? Is this individual, um, you know, who you've chosen, are you guys able to live for God better together? When you bring these families together, what are the pitfalls? What are the things that you're gonna have to face that may make living for God together as a couple um, harder, for the blended family when you're a man, especially a man, because that's what the video was about. And you're dating a woman, who already has children. What are the pitfalls? What are the struggles? What are the things that you're gonna have to look out for? What are the things that you're gonna have to be prayerful about if you're considering that? If a person says, "Well, I don't want to do that," no harsh, no judgment, but a person that does want to do that, or does have a desire for an individual who already has children, are you ready to step into that? And are you ready to do what's necessary? Because there's a lot of things that are going to be asked of you that aren't normally asked, or wouldn't be asked of a more traditional, quote unquote, and air quotes, relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's traditional nowadays, man.
Right. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm definitely gonna lean in and maybe ask questions of you from
Yeah.
a pastor perspective for sure.
Yeah.
And I would ask that you for the sake of our audience, lean in, because I'm gonna speak on things from my perspective and maybe even my biases, if you will. And so I will ask you to hold me accountable and ask questions that I can share because I experienced it, that will provide value to people, things that I may not think to bring up. And so I think this is gonna be interesting. So like I said, we're gonna have 2 clips. The first clip is a young lady responding to a guy in the comment section. Instead of me describing, I'm just gonna go ahead and play it.
This comment right here. I really don't think that he's speaking for all men, because I know that there will be somebody that steps up one day to be some sort of father figure for my child. It's also very, I'm very surprised that you felt comfortable actually typing this out and commenting on someone's video. Like, it's just the wildest thing. You don't know my circumstances with my child, or his father. Yeah, that's basically it. So hopefully he's not speaking for all men out there, but this was just really disappointing to see.
Yeah, so those who may just be listening, she had a comment up on the screen that says, "No man wants to raise another man's child and be the cleanup guy. Pass." And so she's shocked by that comment and she's replying back to it. So yeah. So, and then there's gonna be a list of other comments that this narrator puts on the screen. So I'm gonna play those.
Asked the question if a man would date a single mother. This is the response she has gotten from a lot of men. Of course she didn't like it, but almost everyone in that
So we saying 100% agree with him. He's absolutely correct. He's speaking for me. I raised 2 stepkids. Never again, ever.
comment section was in agreement.
He's speaking for
because
us,
they
can't
see no
confirm.
benefit in dating a single mother.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's the first clip, and she's saying hopefully he's not speaking for all men. So I'll just hop right in there and say that he's not speaking for all men. There's obviously plenty of men who has stepchildren and who has got into a relationship with a person being a single mom, but there is a huge responsibility, which is the responsibility of starting a family in any context. And so when I first saw this, I was actually shocked too by the type of comments that people made. And typically, you got to be careful when you read the comments anyway, because the type of people that comment are, they're going to either be super negative or they're going to have bias and follow along with their favorite content creator or whatever. But it wasn't that many people who would say, yeah, no, not all men think this way, and some men will step up and take care of a child that's not biologically his. And for me, I think it hits home because, one, my mom was a single mom, and she had boyfriends and dudes that she dealt with, and I have a stepdad now, and he treats us like we're his kids. And then I'm also in that same situation. And so when I see this, I'm like, man, these people, it's kind of hurtful for them to say some of the stuff that they were saying in the comments when you're talking about somebody's daughter or somebody's mom, or you're talking about a human being. But on the flip side, the way this world is right now, it is scary and hard for men to get married, period. And so adding a child that's not yours on there is another layer of complexity. What's your initial thoughts, Anthony?
So my initial thoughts is, these people are answering from trauma. They're answering from negative experiences. One of the things that I do notice, and when I say this, I don't mean age, I mean time. This generation, and I'm not talking about age, I'm talking about this time that we live in. People are probably less likely to venture into a relationship with someone who already has kids, both male or female. It could be a single dad or a single mom, you know, um, because of the type of content that's out there that disparages that discourages that says you can do better than that you're trying to boss up, you're trying to, get somebody who can, meet your goals and make the money that you want to make. And so the times that we live in, can, because like you said, a lot of our parents, a lot of, the people that, we came from, that was not even a big deal. A lot of people took in other people's kids, and that was so. I think this is a more time frame thing. This age, this day and time that we're living in, people are more bold, are more resistant, more opposed to doing that, than they would have been 10, 20 years ago. And then there's still remnants of people who are, oh, I don't see the problem. I don't see, why it's a big deal. You know, but if you really do an examination, that those comments are going to be from people who are modern thinkers, that they're thinking around these modern ideas of what it looks like, and it can be discouraging, hurtful, and man, just outright, you know mean, some of the
Yeah.
things that are being said.
Yeah, and I agree. In the comment section, a lot of them are coming from hurt, right? People who've been hurt or burned in the past, but hurt doesn't justify hate, you know.
No.
And so I get why some people may be cautious, and you're stepping into a family that was already started. Not only do you have to deal with this woman, you got to deal with the kid's father. And so what does that look like? Then you got to deal with the kids on, will they respect you, will they not respect you? Then what if y'all have a kid together? Will you be accused of favoritism? I remember Life Jennings did a song about
Yeah.
that, man. He did a really good job on that song. And so it takes a lot of maturity, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of sacrifice. One of the things I used to hate, I had a buddy who was dating this girl. I know that he wasn't trying to be serious with this girl. I know that he talked to a few other girls, but the girl son will call him dad, and I'm like, dude,
Mm.
why would you let
Ooh.
him do that when you know
Man.
that you're not even really trying to be with this girl like that? Like to me, I get defensive over the fatherless, maybe because I was a fatherless child. And so that's a line right there where I won't cross. And even as a stepdad, I make it crystal clear that I'm not your actual dad. I encourage that you have a relationship with your actual dad. I would never try to stop that because it's not my
Right.
not my place to do it, and it's unfair to the child. Everybody want to know where they came from and what their heritage is like and those kind of things. And so I personally wouldn't do that. But like if you are gonna date a single woman, then you need to come in that thing. You need to be a little bit more mature about it, and you need to make sure that you're actually want to be with this person, because you're not only gonna affect that person, you're gonna affect the kids as well. And the other thing that I don't like about this is that you're acting like being a single mom is like some kind of moral failure, right? We all sin, we all fall short of God's grace, and we got different things, but sometimes it's not the woman's fault that she's single. She may have been in an abusive relationship where she had to get away from somebody who was crazy. She might be a widow, and she have kids, she have kids. Or she simply might have got cheated on and got abandoned. And so it's not always necessarily the woman's fault. I think a lot of men are afraid of, oh, well, if I get with this woman, is she still going to be talking to the kid's father? And
Right.
so that's the thing. But like, we really got to have a little bit of compassion, whether you would do it or not do it.
I agree. It's a touchy subject because, they can feel like my life is over now. Who's going to want me? you know, and some of them carry that with them, so that even when somebody does, they're like, "You sure? I don't know." And so they'll make it hard on that individual that actually does care, because they're like, "Well, nobody else does. Why would you? Something must be wrong with you. Because there's something wrong with me." And so
Yeah.
it's a cycle, that can be, like you said, very harmful.
Yeah. No. So yeah, let me let me ask you this. Wh- I know you've been married. I mean, your wife, you and your wife been together since high school, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So would you have married your wife if she had a kid? Would you have even dated her if she had a kid?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that would have changed too much. I do think, and it's hard now because I know so much about the pitfalls and the challenges. Back then, I would have been young and I wouldn't have really known what, what type of drama could be there with the baby's dad and family already, or and how uncomfortable or comfortable it would be, for the child to maybe slip up and call me dad or call me pops or call me. I don't know what that would have been like. My initial reaction is, yeah, I would have still dated her and probably still married her unless things did fall apart because of that.
Yeah.
Things didn't work because of that, because maybe it was too much, you know, too many, pitfalls or troubles, because we were young. So, but my initial reaction is, yeah, my thought is, yeah, of course I would have, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. But so how would you counsel somebody, say one of the members of your church or even your son, hey, met this girl, I really like her. I can see a future with her, but she has a kid.
Yeah, I've actually had a lot of those conversations, to be honest with you. My initial reaction is, number one, how do you see your relationship building you up um in your walk with the Lord? Are you guys really, uh benefiting in your walk with the Lord when you come together? Is it something that you feel like you're better together for the Lord than you would be apart? Number one, and so number two, I would say, what is that relationship like with, with that co-parent? Are they co-parenting well? Is there struggles there? Is that something that you're willing to be a part of? And then number three, are you willing to treat that child with the love and respect and dignity that is necessary, knowing that this is not your child? Because some people say, "Well, I'm gonna treat the child like it's my own." Well, the child is not your own, and so I understand the sentiment, what you're saying, but I would say more accurately, are you going to give them the respect and the care that they deserve? As you being there as a parental figure, because the child is not your own, but they still deserve love and respect and care, and an environment that's safe, and trustworthy. So those are the three things that I put out there, and I let that person kind of wrestle with that, you know, and that's just saying one child. What if there's multiple? What if there's two, three, four? You know, same thing. What does that look like for you? When y'all come together, is it something that you're better together for the Lord? Because that person also may have their own traumas, their own issues around relationships, because they maybe feel like they've been burned quite a few times. And now, even though you're attracted to them, you desire to be with them, they need healing. They need, time. And are you willing to wait for them to be ready for that? There's a lot of factors, but those are the things that come to mind right away from the conversations that I've sat down with. And there's more to it. There's
So
more to it.
I'm sure in your congregation you have some single mothers.
Hmm. Hmm.
What does that look like for them? Like, I mean, because we always talk about we serve a God of restoration and He forgives and we're new in Christ and all those kind of things. But the world give you this stigma like you're damaged
Yeah.
goods, if you will, right? And
Yeah.
again, I I'm a mama's boy. I love my mama to death, man. For the longest time, it was me, my mom, and my sister, right? And so I see dudes will come and dudes will go, and dudes will treat us some type of way. And from that perspective, I have a compassion and a heart for single mothers, and I know we would caution a man before jumping into that situation.
Right.
And
Right.
right now we're assuming that it's the woman who's coming with the kids. It could be the man
Right.
coming with the kids, right?
We're making an
We're
assumption.
making an assumption, right? That it could be, because that's a whole other can of worms. But from the single mothers who are looking to eventually get married one day, and they're serving Christ, and they're being discipled, and they're in the church, and they're doing their thing. What do you ever have conversation with them? Do you ever build them up? What does that look like?
Yeah. Number one for them, again, their relationship with God, of course, but that they're co-parenting well, that their relationship, as it relates to, that other parent or parents, is in a way that if a person's invited into this, that they're not going to be, beat up and run off because you're kind of messy with that. It's
You
your
finna
ex,
touched
but
on
you're
something
still,
with that one.
you know what I'm saying? It's your, and this is male or female. Let's make that clear. It's male or female. Hey, y'all still having conversations with each other. Y'all still kind of, even though you're supposed to not be together, y'all, and he has a little bit too much access to you, and it's not
Yeah,
about the kids, and
yeah.
she
But
has a
but
little bit more access. You know what I'm
but
saying?
even
And so
worse though, look at the other side though. To some of the mothers who use their kid against the dad. Well, I don't want them
yeah,
to see him, or I only want the child support, or whatever the case may be. Because a man coming into that's drama too.
that's drama. That's drama too. Yeah, it can be a messy situation. So I counsel them that, hey, are you co-parenting well? Is this a situation where somebody's invited into it? You know, they're not going to be unnecessarily, because you know, uh, um, there's already a factor there, but is that factor unnecessarily,
Undue stress,
difficult,
unnecessary stress.
undue
Yeah,
stress? You know what I'm saying? And then number three, are you working on your healing spiritually? Because if you have, had a previous relationship that resulted in a child, or multiple relationships that resulted in a child, there's probably some hurt there. There's probably some pain. There's probably some rejection issues. There's probably some insecurities. There's probably some things that you need to deal with, that when this person comes in, you don't want to hit them with all that. You don't want to abuse them because you don't feel, deserving. You don't feel like anybody really wants you, even though you want to be wanted. You still at the same time don't feel like anybody should want you, but you want to be wanted. And so there's a battle there, especially, when I've counseled, women on that side of it. The men, it is a little bit different for the single man. I think when women come into the picture, they're actually a little bit more, I don't know, they're willing to work a little bit better, whereas the men kind of struggle in those situations because there's another man out there. And so that's some of the things, but I encourage them, that, hey, if you're thinking about this, these are some of the factors that you want to be praying about, and that you want to be working through, and that you want to have a handle on, because it's going to affect this current relationship if these other relationships have a lot of unresolved issues that are boiling over into your home right now with nobody there.
yeah.
Somebody comes in and they want to marry you, they're going to want to be your protector. They're going to want, are you bringing them into something where it's going to be, the wild, wild west?
Yeah, no, you bring up something too where you're like, sometimes the women are kind of more willing to deal with it. So here's where my experience can kind of come into play, because I've had kids, before my wife now too. And I've dated other women before my wife now too. And so one of my biggest things is this: if you can't accept my kids, then we can't be together. Because at the end of the day, these are gonna always be my kids. So that's my first indicator on if me and you can even be married, knowing that I have kids. Also too, as I get to know a woman, if she have kids, if I, like you said, if the situation with the baby daddy is a certain kind of way, or the kid is disrespectful, this is me being a football coach. My biggest pet peeve with being a football coach is parents who let their kids disrespect the coach. Like if you let, like if your kid's being disrespectful and you allowing it, and sometimes even condoning it, Like that's a situation I'll stop coaching your kid. I'll give you a refund to get them off the team and put them on another team because I'm not gonna deal with the kid disrespecting me and the parent actually condoning it or not allowing it. So that's another piece to it. But then the other thing that I would advise people on is that, and this is where, you really got to look at what's your walk like with Christ, because once you and that person get married, y'all become one. There are a lot of people who put their children, even biological children, over their spouse, right?
Yeah.
And that I think that was probably one of the hardest things to deal with is like, okay, well, if I do this, is she gonna think I'm doing this because this is not my son? When in reality, I would do this same thing to my son, and it may not even be something like it's discipline. It could be something as simple as like I give you a perfect example. I bought me my first car that I bought. My first car that I bought without a cosign, without my mom help, was my Buick. I still have that Buick. It's a 2014, I think. So it's pretty old now. But I got it on my own, paid it off. This was my first car that I bought on my own. Okay. I have a son from my previous marriage, Rico Jr., who doesn't live with me. I have my stepson here, and I have my daughter here. Now, a lot of times, a lot of fathers, what they do when they got their old favorite car, they hand it down to their son. But because my stepson lived here, I handed that car down to him. Now, again, I look at him just like my son. I treat him as fairly like I do with my other kids. So that's not a big issue. But my son could possibly feel some type of way that it didn't get handed down to him. Now, I did help his mother get him a car too. So that was the one thing I was able to get all my kids cars. But here's where things can kind of get a little tricky. My daughter, who's my daughter with my wife now, we bought her a brand new car. And my stepson has the older car. And so sometimes he may feel like, well, why did I get the older car and she got the newer car? It has absolutely nothing to do with whether he's my stepson or not. It has everything to do with, one, at that point in my life, I had a car that was paid off that you could have. And at this point in my life, we were able to afford to get my daughter a new car. But 3, she's a girl. And I've raised my boys to like, listen, if we got a good car and a bad car, guess what? As the husband, I'm in the bad car, my wife's gonna be in the good car. We're not gonna have our women out there in a car that's gonna break down. And so, but the good thing is my wife understands that. But in some people, they may say, no, that's not right. Why did you get her the new one versus you got the old one, right? But the reality of it is that, one, these kids, they lucky they got anything, to be honest, right? And so you get into those kind of situations. And then you also get into a situation when it's time to leave the nest, right? And and mothers in general typically are a little bit more lenient on the kids and want to help them and take care of them. Fathers are a little more like, hey, nobody paid for my college, or he need to get out there and be a man and do all this. And so then it's the parenting styles that come into play, and it gets even trickier when it's not your biological kid. So there are some things, some areas you struggle with, but to speak on the men's side, the man who come in with it, women, they go through some of the same things that we as men go through. Are you still talking to your baby mom? Why are you giving her money? And why you get it on the flip side. But here's what I think is the biggest difference, and this is something that I try to explain to my wife all the time. I say, and this is also something that I deal with personally. I was a mama's boy. I grew up with my mom. So when me and my ex split up, I didn't even try to get full custody, not because I didn't want it, not because I didn't love my kids. It's because I feel like a child shouldn't be pulled away from their mom. And so I felt like, me as the man, I'm going to leave her with the good car. I'm going to leave her with whatever she want out the house. I will start over. I will struggle, but I'm not going to make my kids be separated from their mom when I know how my relationship is with my mom. I didn't have a relationship with dad. If I had a dad, it might have been different. But my conscience wouldn't allow me to even try to take them away from their mom. And so I didn't. But because of that, I have to live a life of where my kids are not in the house with me full time. My wife, on the other hand, who brought her kids in, she don't know what that feels like. Her kids live with her full time. She have her kids. And so that is something that we deal with a lot of, like, hey, you don't know what it's like to not to have your kids all the time. You don't know what it's like to want to be able to see them on Christmas, but they got to be over there at Christmas or whatever. Or you don't even know just simple stuff like, when I get a promotion, are we doing better? And we got the Xbox and the PlayStations and the games like that at our house, you know, I feel some kind of way because maybe my kids at their house may or may not have those things. And so a lot of times women don't understand what it's like to not have your kids with you full time, because typically in the courts they get the kid, right? And that's a struggle that I think men deal with, and we have to understand. And so when you say women are kind of a little bit more allowing of it, I think that's one of the biggest things we see, because you get into the whole, oh, well, why are you sending this money there? Or why are you doing, you pay child support, so why are you doing extra? Well, guess what?
Well, let me ask you a question. Since you asked me the question, I'm gonna ask
Okay.
you the question.
Okay.
If you didn't have kids when you met your wife, would you still have married her?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, have I ever talked to somebody who didn't have kids? And the issue is, I got married the first time at 19. So I had my first kid at 19. So most of my life, I've already had been in
Right.
a relationship with kids, and so it's difficult for me to say what I would or would not do, which is why I'm trying to think. Before I met her, did I talk to anybody? Actually, I did. I did talk to one person who did have kids. So but I had kids. So so I don't know. But I personally think I would have. And again, and here's the reason why I think I would have, because I grew up that way. That like my ex, when I was 19, her mom and dad had been together forever. They'd never been divorced. They haven't had anything. But also too, her dad is one of the most chill, laid back, don't raise his voice, cool kind of people. And her mom is kind of a little bit. I'm trying to be respectful here. She's a little bit the opposite. So she kind of she kind of dictate what happens in their relationship. And so my ex thought that she could do that with me. I grew up with a single mom who was really hard on me because she was a woman raising a man. And so I did not want to leave one mother and get with another mother, right? And so, but in her, she grew up in a household where you don't get a divorce, it's forever and whatever. I grew up in a household where I saw different people come and go, right? So to me, I think that's one of the reasons why getting a divorce was easier for me, because I saw that. And then two, which is, I also think I would have still dated and married a woman with kids, because to me that wasn't abnormal. That was regular life for me.
So let's say your son comes to you, and he's he likes this girl, and she's got 2 kids already.
Yeah.
What's Pop saying to him?
So for me, it depends. So it depends on where he's at in life. So I give you, like, my brother, for example, he married somebody. They didn't have kids before they got married. But I think I would give my son similar advice that I gave to my brother. I'm like, man, if you can't take care of yourself, you shouldn't be getting married at all. You shouldn't be trying to take care of somebody else. So I think that's the first lens I'll look at it, is like, is he even in a position to where he can take care of himself, and can he take care of multiple people? So that's where and if he wasn't, like my boy now, Rico Jr. is going to school to be a dentist. So let's say he's a dentist now and he meets somebody with kids. Then I would just say, then I would go into, so if he's able to take care of them, then I would go into the whole, okay, what is her relationship with God and what is your relationship with God? And again, my advice probably won't necessarily be around her having kids. It will be more so around, hey, don't be like your daddy. Just because you saw me get a divorce don't mean divorce is right. When I got a divorce, I wasn't thinking about God. I wasn't following God. And if y'all are already, if you're in that same situation, I don't think you need to be getting married. On top of that, with her having kids, you're not gonna, if you're not following God, you're not gonna handle them in a biblical way. You're not gonna handle the baby daddy in a biblical way. You're not gonna handle all, and so I think my second piece would be what is his relationship with God? And I know that probably should be first, but if I'm just being honest, my first initial reaction would be, can he even take care of them? My second would be, where are they both at with God? Do they both believe in God? And if both of those things are in line, then I would warn him about the things about the kids. But I would be very hypocritical if I told him not to date a woman with kids, knowing that I did it and that he's a product of that too. And so I wouldn't advise him against it, but I would warn him. I would tell him, just like I would if they were just two single people getting into marriage. I would warn him about financial issues and if y'all get into a disagreement or like all those kind of things. And so I think the advice that I stay on and I land on, and I told my daughters and my sons this, I'm like, all I ask is that you marry somebody who love Jesus more than they love you. If you can do that, if you can marry somebody who loves Jesus more than you, then y'all gonna be all right. Now, if that person don't love Jesus more than you, then it's gonna be some consequences. You're gonna deal with a lot of stuff. That's to say that, and even if they do love Jesus, you're gonna have to deal with certain stuff. But I feel like your biggest protector in going into marriage is seeing how they feel about Christ. And then another more practical everyday is how do they how do they treat their parents? How do they treat, and so then you can also look at how, in this case, how does she treat her kids? Right. And so those are the things that I will look at. I've never been the type of person to tell somebody who to date, who not to date, and why they shouldn't do that. I more so look at the practical stuff of like, all right, if y'all don't believe in God, just know you about to deal with some serious stuff. That's first off. And then two, if you can't take care of yourself, man, don't be trying to take care of nobody else. And but if they got two kids, I'm like, you really need to decide if you're gonna have a kid with that person or not, too. Because one, once you marry her, those kids are now your kids. Regardless of how you look at it, they're your kids, right? In the eyes of God, they're your kids. Now you can look at it in any other lens, but in God's eyes, that's your responsibility. You're their father.
Yeah.
And so are you going to be able to afford to even have more kids and do your own thing? That's kind of what I will probably be more so concerned, not necessarily that she had a kids. That if I'm
All
being
right,
honest.
I got one more for you. I got
Okay.
one more for you. But I was sitting there thinking, I was like, yeah, so what if he came to you and you had met the girl, um, y'all liked her, everything was cool, and then he found out later that she had kids. He didn't find out up front. And he says, Dad, I can't do it. She got kids.
Yeah.
What do you say?
So again, it's so hard, right? Because here's my thing is like, why did she not tell him? But then on the flip side, it's like, when you're dating somebody, you don't want to just throw out everything. Like
Right.
you gradually share stuff, but if they're at a point where they're in love and ready to be married, and then you find out she got kids, that to me is the red flag. But let's just say, I don't know, they were dating 2 weeks and she found, and he like, he really liked her.
Let's say that.
And then and now she dropped the, hey, I got kids and I can't do it. This is my honest to God thing, and this is a great way for me to bring it up here. I would literally be like, listen, Jesus had a stepdaddy. What if Joseph had that same mentality, right? In the eyes of God. And not only that, we are called to be disciples. So if you just take that discipleship piece on it, you can still, like, that shouldn't even be a problem, because we're supposed to take care of the fatherless. We're supposed to take care of the poor and take care of the widows and all those kind of things. So I would say, don't let that alone be the reason why you don't get with her, right? I would, now again, it's still up to him, and it's still, if he don't want to deal with those headaches, that's on him. I would just say, for me, I would look at other things like, do she love God? What is the relationship like with the dad? With the dad, you actually get to get a sneak peek of how she acts when y'all are when y'all not if y'all disagree on certain things. And is she respectful letting the kids see him? Because what she's doing to him, she'll do to you, right? And so I wouldn't just look at the fact that she have a kid, and then not only that, man, people adopt children every day, right? And so I understand that I'm probably biased because of my mom and because of how I was raised and because of my current situation. But for me, I just think that's unfair of a reason to just automatically buy out of a relationship, especially if you and this person connect well. Y'all, you both love the Lord. Like you said, if y'all can be in ministry together, like you're gonna give all that up because she have a kid. I actually got a close buddy who he's kind of he don't have the swag of your average black person, so a lot of black girls don't really rock with him, but he wanted to marry a black woman, and he also said he didn't want to marry a woman with kids. He at this point he was like almost 40 when he was saying this. I'm like, dude, the chances of you finding a woman around your age that's black that don't have kids is slim next to none. Needless to say, he's married now, and he married a woman who had a kid. And so even in his situation, I had to tell him, like, man, you can't just automatically throw a woman out that you bond with, that you connect with just because she had kids, because you never know what that situation might be. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think when you look at it and you just look at it for what it's worth, you know, and I like what you said from the discipleship perspective. Whatever comes with her. I'm prepared to love, my wife and disciple those children, in the ways of the Lord. There is going to be challenges with co-parenting and things like that. And if somebody says, I don't want to deal with that, I don't condemn them for saying they don't want to deal with it. But if you do feel, that this is a person for you, then don't let them having kids stop you. Like you said, like, oh, okay, I can't, that's my rule. Like, it's a
yeah,
hard and fast rule. They got kids, it's done. Um, you know, but you do have to, take into consideration. The Bible says count the cost, right? And so you want to count up the cost. And are you ready to love them? The Bible says, like you said, to take in the orphan and the fatherless, right? To care for them, and you have that opportunity. There are some people that don't have any spouse, and they've adopted kids.
yep, yeah. My
That
brother did
wasn't
that.
their kid. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't their kid, but they reached out and they adopted because they felt called to doing that. And somebody said, well, that's taking care of somebody else's kid.
Yeah,
That's literally what you're doing. You reached out and adopted, and you're raising someone else's kid who maybe couldn't, or maybe it was a difficult situation. Maybe one of the parents passed away. You don't know, but you can feel called to doing that. And so I don't want to discount that part of it, that you feel like you're called to parent, but maybe you're not able to have your own kids. And so you step into a relationship with someone that already has kids. What does that look like? And are you doing it for the right reasons? Because what are the right reasons, when it comes down to that? Do I, oh, well, I want a ready made family. Well, is that correct? Is that right to think that way? So there's a lot of aspects of this. And like I said, when I looked at the video and the reactions, like, don't nobody want to do that. That's crazy. Nobody would never do that. Well, that's not true. There are people who, their love for one another allows them to be able to do this and do it well and come together with blended families. Maybe both people bring children to the table. Maybe the woman already has maybe the man already has a child and the woman comes in and, is that missing piece. And then like you said, then are you going to have children together? Are you, able to do that? Is that something that you want to do? You know?
yeah.
So there's a lot of components to it, but to just say flat out that that's ridiculous, nobody would do that. Don't nobody want you. You're used up. You're old. What was the one guy? He passed away. He was hard on single moms. He like,
Oh,
man,
Kevin
your
Samuels.
value. Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
used to. You're like, yeah, man, your value is low. You need to, you need to kiss his butt if you want him to, come after you because you don't bring anything to the table. You're already washed, you're used, and it's like, wow.
But you know what? I expect that from a non-believer. Like to be honest, like if as a so when I met my wife, I wasn't following Christ. So my view on it came from my childhood and my background to where it wasn't that big of a deal and I was willing to do it. Also too, I'm just that kind of compassionate person. I feel like if I can go and coach a team and take care of these random kids that I don't know, I can take care of the child of the woman that I love, right? And so that's just my heart in it. But on the flip side, like a Kevin Samuels or some of these people in the comment section, if you are I don't even want to call you selfish or whatever, but really, if you're focused on how does it affect me and why I shouldn't take care of somebody else's child, that actually doesn't surprise me from somebody who don't have a discipleship servant, like Jesus, he came to serve, right? Somebody who don't have a service type mentality, I can understand that. But if you have a service type mentality, right? And I'm gonna purposely not say how I know this person, but I know a particular person who is a Christ who is very charitable with strangers, not that very charitable with their family. And that is so mind-boggling to me. It is so mind-boggling to me that you would take thousands of dollars and donate it to a stranger who's poor, which is a good thing to do. But then you're super hard and judgmental on your family members, and you wouldn't do that for them. Like, to me, it shouldn't be one or the other. It should be both. Now, here's the one thing that I will say, and this is my personal. I have two pet peeves when it comes to blended families. The first pet peeve, and it's not just with the kids, it's with anybody. If me and you got married and have kids, say we divorce, those kids should still be my kids. And if you treat me like they're not my kids and you take them away from me, then now it's like, was we ever really a family? Same thing with like cousins and mothers. And like, to me, I'm like, if we were family, we're always family. And if when trouble comes, we're no longer family, that proves to me that we were never really family. That's my mentality. I just can't stand that two-facedness, if you will, right? So that is something that people got to consider, because like if y'all got a divorce, she's taking that child with her, and now do that child still look at you like a daddy? I feel like in the eyes of God, you are, and if we were family, cool. The other piece is that I have very tolerance for men who don't take care of their kids. So if I was to marry a woman who had kids and I'm able to take care of them, that does not neglect that person from having to still take care of their kids, right? I feel like to me, man, and the Bible said, if you don't take care of your family, you're worse than an unbeliever, right? Like, to me, I have no sympathy for men who don't take care of kids. And I feel like those men make it hard for men who do want to take care of their kids. So a man who actually want to pay child support, actually want to be in their kid's life, they got to deal with all these court laws and rules, and it makes it very difficult for them. And it's because you got these other jokers who just like, well, he got a stepdaddy, or they got money, why should I have to do anything? And like that. Those are my two pet peeves when it comes to blended families. Like, take care of your responsibilities regardless of the situation you're in. And then the other thing, if we're family, we're family. To me, that is a lot. Like, that is just my pet peeve. Like, if we're family, we're family. I won't treat your kids any different. Shouldn't treat mine any different. And if you can't accept them the same, then we don't need to be together. That was my viewpoint. And so those are my pet peeves in it. And that is the danger of it. And which is why so many people may try to shy away from it. But if you take on that role, you are family, and you have a responsibility, which is a great segue to this next video, this next clip.
Yeah.
This next clip, Anthony, had me hot to death, and mainly because of some of those pet peeves that I have. But check this out.
Right there, step for it. I can step away anytime. Anytime. I can step out the door right now. You want me to do it? No, I expect you to take care of both kids equally like you're supposed to. It ain't happening like that because he's not mine. That's your kid. That's your kid. It's your responsibility. That is not my responsibility. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would take care of both kids. That's what a real man does. All right. Okay. Well, I must not be a real man because I'm not taking care of that kid. I'm not taking care of him because I don't like him. And why you doing? Because that's not my son. I'm not trying to build a bond with another man's son. So why do you think I didn't take care of him? Because you know that his father don't want no parts of him. So therefore, I'm the one that take care of the responsibility for him. And then when you marry me, that made it like what you just said. It's your child, your responsibility, not mine.
This joker married this lady and saying, I don't like the kid. He's not mine. I'm not gonna have a, like that's my biggest fear. Like my daughter or my son get with some joker like this, man. Well, I think that's pure evil, me personally. That is just pure evil for him to be like, I'm the stepdad, I can step away at any time. That's your son, that's your responsibility. Why in the world would you have married this woman in if that's the case? That I can't understand that.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's not good, right? It's not a good thing at all. What I do understand though is how a person can do that. Because if it's about them and them dating and hooking up or whatever they're doing, right? That's not about responsibility. That's not about kids. That's about us dating. It's about us doing our thing. That's about, and then when these other things come into it, it's like, hey, I'm here for you, not them. You know, I'm here for, what I'm getting from you, not them. I didn't sign up for that. And part of that, um, and this might sound harsh, is that why didn't she know that?
Yeah.
When they got together and nip that in the bud, like, well, then if you can't accept them, because how did you marry him? And knowing that did he hide this from you all this time? Did he, it doesn't, the way he acts, I can't see him hide nothing.
Like a
He
part of
had
me
to be
feel like it's not even real. I just can't even, I feel like that's scripted or something like, but there
or
are
something,
people who,
right?
there are people who think this way though. There are actual
Yeah.
biological people who kill their own kids and do things to their own kids. So
Yeah.
I know there's people who think this way, but I'm with you. Like, how did they even get to marriage? And that was his mentality.
Right. So that's my issue is how'd they even get there knowing that was the issue? Because I've seen it, and I'm like, okay, y'all still gonna do it, even though he's like, well, them ain't my kids. And like you said, what I look like bonding with another man's kid. Well, like you said, you ain't never been a coach. You ain't never been, in a youth leader, position where you end up bonding with kids all the time.
Yeah.
There's kids that see me, they're grown with their own kids. They're like, hey, coach, how you doing, coach? How's everything going? Because we bonded on that level, a player, coach, and I invested in their life and they received from me and that kind of thing. And so how much more as a stepdad are you not going to, be able to pour in and be there for that young, especially that young man?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, a daughter, but especially you say, oh, I ain't bonding with this another man's son.
Man, I can only imagine what people around Joseph said to him when Mary, when Mary was impregnated by the Holy Spirit. But like, just imagine if he had that mentality, right? Like I really love the fact that God made it that way. Like our Lord and Savior has a stepfather. And so to me, and the Bible doesn't like distinguish that's Jesus' dad. That's his earthly
Right.
father. And it wasn't his biological son. When it talks about Jesus' brothers, which I know some people don't believe Mary ever had sex, but Jesus had brothers and sisters. Those were, they don't say, oh, this is his step brother and sister or his half brother. Like those was his brother and sisters. And so in God's eyes, they're your kids. And then God called you to be faithful and take care of people who are not even your family. So to me, man, to me, if you again, it's your choice on whether or not you want to marry somebody with kids or not. I'm not on here to advocate for you to marry people who got kids, but what I am here to advocate for is that people who do have kids, you know, uh, they still deserve a chance at life. They still deserve grace. They still deserve, forgiveness of whatever happened in the situation that caused them to be a single parent. And then those kids deserve to be treated fairly. And like to me, if you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, then skip past this. That's on you. But from a Christian perspective, you know, if you decide to get in that relationship, you have an obligation and a responsibility to them people. And in God, I just feel like God
Yeah.
doesn't see the difference.
Yeah. Once you step in there, you're in there. Because you think about it, the Bible says that we are no longer orphans, right? We are no longer orphans, that he took us in. And what that meant was that he said, the inheritance that's given to my son, if you endure, you get the same inheritance. In other
Yeah.
words, he's like, I'm gonna bless you the same way I bless my own son. Isn't that crazy that God would do that? And so, like you said, if you step into that role, understand that you have an example from your heavenly Father.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we took a long way just to pull
Just
that
to get
point.
to
But that's the point that needed to be said. Yeah, no.
there.
I think that's a good summary. You got anything else you want to share or add?
No, that yeah.
Yeah, let me think. I try to think of like what questions that the users may have. So, is it fair to raise another person's child? If like it's a lot of things in life that's not fair. In an ideal world, would you want to it be, you start your own family. See, this is where this is the point that I wanted to bring up before we close. I remember early in my walk with Christ, before I really knew Christ, you would hear some of these rules and stuff, and like, man, I can't do all these things, and I guess I'm gonna go to hell because I can't be perfect and that kind of stuff. And then some people even get to a point where they feel like God is keeping me from something, right? Like one of my biggest ones was like, uh, waiting into marriage to have sex. I'm like, man, I don't want to be locked in with somebody my whole life that I don't know about. But this is the kind of stuff that God trying to protect us from, right? Protect us from
Right.
disease, protect us from having kids without a person being there. And so, I guess if any advice I would give is that life is not fair, and we live in a sinful world. But if we try to live by some of God's biblical principles, then we don't even get in these type of situations, or these kind of situations that God is trying to prevent us from. And so, in reality, if you are not in a relationship and you're not married, then maybe take on some of the biblical principles and date biblically. Don't have sex till you get married. See, like you said, see what your walk in your relationship like with Christ, and then you will avoid a lot of these issues in the first place. But at the same time, the person you are today may not be the person you are tomorrow. You may be two single people with no kids, get married, have kids, and at no fault of your own, this
Right.
person leaves you, and now you're in that situation. And so, a lot of times, people put hurtful comments and say hurtful things until they're in that situation. And I ain't trying to get political, but I'm saying a lot of that right now in the world, in the area of politics, a lot of that was like, a lot of people supporting a lot of the decisions that our president making until it hits close to home and they're affected by it, and then now they're seeing it different ways. And we do this with all kind of areas in life. And so that is the point that I will say is that if you disagree with this and you don't want to do it, then you probably want to listen to God and date the way that He suggests that you date or interact. I know we're saying that there's no biblical examples of dating in the Bible, but waiting into marriage. And then the next thing I will say too is that love, the way the Bible describes it, is not necessarily a feeling. It's more so a choice.
Commitment. Yeah.
It's a commitment and a choice in how you behave. So it's a lot of different ways we can unpack the onion. But at the end of the day, whether you agree or disagree that you should or should not get with somebody who already have kids, if you decide to do it, then those are your kids, and you got a responsibility at that point.
Yeah. I would say responsibility. that if you take on this, with this woman and everything that comes with her, you need to be willing, and you see that throughout the Bible. Anytime someone, even with was the book of Ruth, when he takes on the property, he takes on Ruth, he takes on the whole thing, whatever the responsibility is, he's taking that on, and like you said with Joseph, he takes on Mary, he takes on all the responsibility that comes with her. You can't treat Jesus any different than the rest of the children in that relationship. Because that's the example that our Heavenly Father gives. If a person says, "I don't want to do that," then just say, "I don't want to do that." Don't bad mouth or disparage or speak ill of someone who's had children and the relationships didn't work out before you and say, "Oh, they're trash, they're this, that." Don't do that. Just, "Hey, I'm not going to do it." Fine. Man, go for it. But don't tell somebody else you shouldn't do that. You can't do that. "Oh, don't do that to yourself, man." Don't do that to people, because you don't know, you know, the role that this person may play in this woman's life, in this family's life, or in this man's life and his children's lives. It could be the difference maker. There's people to this day that because somebody stepped in, their life was made better, that
Yeah.
they had opportunities and chances that they were not going to have without that other person stepping in, whether it was a woman stepping into a man's life with kids or a man stepping into a woman's life who already had children. And so that's my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, no, man. And yeah, I'll land on this right now with the whole AI thing. And so you were asking me how would I advise my son, and if she had kids. Nowadays, there's a whole thing going around of men should even get married. Period. Because of all the business side of it, or if you get a divorce, they get to take half of everything and all that kind of stuff. And so I was looking at some podcasts that saying that a lot of people are now starting to marry AI and have relationships with AI and avatars. And so, like, it's funny, but think about this now. Say whoever your dream girl is, they can make a synthetic humanoid robot that look exactly like her, but then it also has AI technology that know everything about you, know how to cheer you up when you sad, know how to do all your desires or whatever. And guess what? You don't have to deal with the risk of if y'all got divorced, they take half. That is the new temptation right now for certain people, and that's becoming a reality. And so for the same person who may say, "Oh, I wouldn't recommend my kids getting with somebody who have kids," now we're moving to a place where it's like, I wouldn't recommend my son to get married at all because of the negative stuff. And so if you got them, if you don't have that Christ-like mentality, these are the selfish ways you're thinking. "Oh, well, I've earned all this money and I've been successful in life, so I don't want to risk marrying somebody who can end up," like, for example, great example. Oh boy, what's his name? Travis Hunter. Have you seen all the stuff in the media about him? He's an
No, not
idiot.
yet.
Oh, so okay, so anyway, Travis Hunter is you know who Travis Hunter is, right? He's
Yeah, I know he is.
the two-way football player. Well,
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
he got this girlfriend that she started being in the social media, and they did a lot of social media stuff together. Well, it came out that she didn't really like him at first. So people saying the only reason she didn't like him until she realized who he was and the kind of money he was going to make. Supposedly, some rapper dude had a video of her dancing all on him, and I guess cheating on while they were together. Also, she would say things like, he's so in love with me that he would drive me and my friends to the club and he would just sit in the car and wait for us to come out. So everybody got their opinion on this relationship, saying he better not get with her. She's gonna take all his money. She's using him. She's a gold digger, the whole nine, the whole nine. He's like, listen, stay out of my relationship. I know what I have. I know what I want. But every single person that you hear that talks about it saying that he shouldn't get with her, that she's gonna take half. And she don't have any kids. Now, why are they saying this? Because traditionally speaking, yeah, if things go sideways, guess what? She is getting half of everything, that he earned. And she may or may not be doing it for the money. But at the end of the day, who are all these other people to tell him whether he should or should not marry her? They're telling them this in the same vein of these people saying you shouldn't get with somebody who have kids. And the reality of it is that I'm not naive. I get that, yeah, there's a lot of risk that comes with when you marry somebody. There's even more added risk if you come with somebody who have kids, right? And so all I'm saying is that people come up with justifications why not to get married at all versus
Right.
getting married with kids. And he's a great example of that. And so I think this is why we're getting to a point where you're starting to see the population starting to decrease. They're saying we're not making as many babies to keep the human race going. And then it's just going to get even worse when they're literally building AI robots for companionship. So now it's going to be like, do you even marry a real human or not?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because I heard a little bit about it. I just didn't, I just felt like it was just gossip, that kind of stuff.
Travis Hunter or the robots?
Yeah, the Travis Hunter stuff, but the AI stuff, I've actually seen the videos. They're like, and they're quickly like not, perfecting these, and it's like people are really considering this. It's just crazy in my mind.
Anthony, I'm gonna be honest with you. Again, let's take off my Christian hat and just look at it from a purely man, business, selfish perspective. If I can get the woman of my dreams and it looks like a no kidding real woman and then there's zero risk, that is gonna be a huge temptation for people. It's gonna be huge. People already do it now. They have these adult dolls and these adult toys. Right. And so if I get this thing that can say all the right stuff, do all the right things, and look like my fantasy, now the question is, what benefit do I have? So I can tell you, man, about 20 years from now, somebody will be doing a podcast on should you even marry real women? Like straight up, man.
You said 20 years from now, it might the way this is going, it may be 5.
Yeah.
We may be talking because it's developing fast, know. And the people who have the money, they already experiment with it. I already, I was actually watching this show where the AI woman was murdering for this guy. He had her commit murder. I was like, wait a minute. Why are they doing this? Because who knows? It might not even be people killing people no more.
Yeah.
There's just so much. So anyway, I don't want to get off track,
but that, I mean, that's a very valid point. Like where it's like, yes, if I don't look at it from a Christian lens, then yeah, you can justify all the reasons why you shouldn't marry a woman with kids, why you shouldn't get married at all, why especially if you're rich and successful and all those kind of things. So yeah, at the end of the day, man, it just boils down to
if you could have your AI harem.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, thank y'all for watching. Let us know in the comments what you think. Will you get with the AI robot? Will you marry somebody who already have kids? Share your thoughts in the comments.